Afternoon. I'm Richard, and this is my son Isaac David. And I've never done one of these before. I am not a professional woodworker. I'm just a guy with a garage. And I built my daughter a lockbox because she has a sister who likes to steal her things. My other children decided they'd like a lockbox as well. So their Valentine's Day gift for I have 4 children is I'm going to build one of these. So today I tried to emulate my wife and go to as many different stores as humanly possible to try and mitigate some of the cost, because even though it's going to be cheaper than buying a lockbox, it still isn't cheap. I went to 5 different stores today. I went to Walmart, I went to Michael's, which is kind of a craft store. I went to Hobby Lobby, I went to Home Depot, and then I had to go to kind of a farm outlet store called Feldman's. It's kind of like Orsol's, in order to purchase a lock and some hinges. Anyway, what I got letters, because I'm going to write their name. I'm going to put their names on them. I got one board, a 1 by 10 inch by 6 feet. I purchased some screws. My boy, this is going to be for my youngest boy. He likes orange, so I got 2 things of orange paint because they're cheaper at Home Depot. These are $5 or $6 a piece, whereas if you buy, say, a quart, it's $20. So I saved $8. Also got a latch for the front. I purchased hinges. I purchased corner braces, which will, when I put the box together, will allow me to make sure that the side and rear and front boards are 90-degree angles. I purchased bumpers on the bottom so that it won't scratch. I purchased, you don't have to run, foam, little piece of foam to put on the bottom and the sides so that he can put glass containers in there if he chooses. And I purchased a lock with 2 keys. One for him, one for his mother and I. Also, I forgot to get black paint, so I went to the craft store and bought black temper paint. Not the best. Matter of fact, I'm not sure how this will work, but we'll find out. Anyway, $73. Which, it's not going to cost $73 for the box, because I'm still going to have the paint left over, screws left over, lots of this left over, letters, felt, but that's what it costs. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is run this through my planer, because as you can see, it's not flat. And it's rather twisted. You don't have to whisper. It's rather twisted. So I'm going to lose some depth. And I'm going to cut it up too. Notice how it's becoming quite obvious. I don't know what I'm doing. So anyhow, I think that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to run it through the planer. You can laugh at me. I'm not very smart. You know that. I'm not sure what is the correct way and what is not the correct way. But I'm going to try something different here. My boy, for whatever reason, has his favorite color as orange. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to understand it. This board is going to get cut up to be a lockbox. So it's going to get a top, a bottom, and then this end cut up as the sides, the front, and so forth. Rather than paint it once it's all cut, I'm going to paint the whole board. Tomorrow I'll turn it over and paint the other side. Then I'll make my cuts and the whole board will already be painted. I'm going to find out in my mind if that's easier for me or not. But we're going to try it. Again, I have no idea why my boy likes orange. But he does. He loves it. Okay. Well, I'm just about ready to finish the first coat, the first side. And it is the most hideous color of orange. But I'm not really sure I've seen an attractive shade of orange, so there's that. Tomorrow, I'll turn this over and paint the other side, make our measurements, and then once it's dried, begin cutting. Not too bad. Whenever I build anything for my children, a bookcase, a desk, I guess I didn't do it on the desks, or lock boxes, or whatever, I like to put their name on it. And I like to do so with these letters, these cut out wooden letters. And what I do is I paint them and then I will affix them to the underside of the lid on the lockbox. So now my goal is to find the letters and paint them. So let's get on that. Like I said, I like to use my children's names on the things I build for them as a way of just personalizing their things. So with his letters picked out for my youngest son, let's go ahead and start painting. I found some of my Behr color sample paints that I got at Home Depot. You can get these for like $6. And it's not much paint. I painted the entire length of a 1 by 10 inch by 6 foot board, both sides, with less than one of these. So, you know, to me that's a better deal than spending $20 for a quart of paint. And I don't know that the tempera wouldn't have worked as well, but I didn't know. And as long as I found this, I figured let's do it. Now, when you're painting, everybody's different. I prefer these little foam brushes because you can buy them for cheap. And when you're done, you can either wash them out and keep them because I'm so cheap I do that, or you can toss them. And these things will start moving around on you. You can see this board's been used. I use a pencil to hold it down. Like that. So let's do that. This is an older thing of paint, but it still works. The batteries are still good. Just like that. Now you can, I like to paint the sides too, because this is going to be in contrast to the orange lid, because it's going to go on the underside of the lid. And once the whole letter is painted, you can move it around, makes it easier when it dries, makes it easier to break it away from the board. And if you just let it sit there, it will kind of meld with the board, and then when it comes time to get it, it's harder. So there's that. Alright, just about wrapped up painting the letters. These don't take but an hour to dry, maybe less. But I usually let them sit for a few hours more before I start gluing them on. I don't see any glaring mistakes. All right then. Make it look good against that horrible orange. Alright, well, it's a little cold out here in my garage wood shop, so I plugged in my space heater. We're going to make a couple of cuts on this board and see if we can start putting this lockbox together. Need my eyes and ears. This will give us the top and the bottom of this lockbox. Now we have our top and our bottom, or our top and our bottom. I'm going to make one more cut to make the sideboards. This is the easiest way I know to make these all the same length. And there's that. With it, I will cut this board up to make the sideboards. And I will cut this board up to make the front and back boards. And that, as they say, is that. We're going to cut the front and the back pieces, and once again, Don our safety equipment. I'm rather fond of my eyes, my ears, and my fingers. Thus, I'll be using the push stick. Alright. Now we've got our halves. Next, what we'll do is use our trusty planer once more and make sure that they are all the exact same height. You may be wondering, maybe one of the drawbacks of painting the board orange in the first place was, you see I've cut these, they're no longer orange. Doesn't matter, because this will either be the top or the bottom of a board. It doesn't matter. So, plus, we can always paint it again. What I'm trying to do now is make sure these are all the same length. So let's get to planing. My wife bought me this just before Thanksgiving, and I don't think I have used a tool more. If you ever have a chance to get yourself a planer, get it. I borrowed one from a friend about 4 months ago, and it changed everything. He was wonderful to loan it to me because they're expensive and they're fragile. But once he loaned me that planer, I was like a child Christmas morning. These things are fantastic. I've got about one more cut to do, and then we will start putting this board together, this box together. I have a really small shop, as you can see. But one of the things I do is whenever I'm finished with a piece of equipment, I will sweep the floor, I will wipe down that equipment, and I will put it away. I like a tidy area. So there's always going to be some mess, but not a lot, because I can't afford to get clustered in here. So I have a really good planer. I have a used table saw which I need to replace, but I still try to take care of that. I've got a homemade tool bench, and I have a really nice miter saw. But whenever I'm finished using these things, like I said, I tidy up. This is my sawdust bucket, and I keep that. A friend who's my woodworking mentor suggested that I keep that and use it in my burn pile. It makes wonderful kindling. So that's a little tip from me to you, from my friend Eddie. So, yes, my spacious wood shop. My wife loves it when I cover her car in sawdust. So, let me cover my table saw. And that way, that's covered too. Another thing I do, I hear is common for most woodworkers, which I really don't consider myself one, is I'm usually working on 2 or 3 different projects at once. Later on, I'm going to plane some cedar, and I have another project I'm working on. That will all get put away as soon as I finish making these cuts and we start putting this box together. So let's start getting to work on that, because, as John Wayne so famously said, we're burning daylight. Looks as if we've got 1 or 2 more cuts to do, and then we can start putting this lockbox together. I tend to like my windshield wiper scraper brusher to brush away sawdust. Believe it or not, I clean regularly in here, as I've already noted, but it piles up. Alright, we're just about ready. I filled up my sawdust bucket and added a burnable box of screws. I have my area swept, future projects ready to be planed. Everything's put away if I'm not working on it. That is my daughter's pile. I'm bragging about how neat and tidy my wood shop area is, and there, look, I haven't yet, I'm so new to woodworking, I haven't yet developed a system for storing wood. This is non-expensive wood, pine and other cheaper woods that you can get at Home Depot or whatnot. And those are scraps. And these are more expensive scraps, mahogany, walnut, maple, cherry, things like that I can't just give to the children. Now I got my 6 pieces cut up and ready to be glued and put together. So let's start putting this lockbox together. Oh, I forgot to brag a little bit. A friend of mine donated this cedar to me. He's such a good guy. I got to figure out a way to repay him. But yes, let's start getting this board put back together. As is so often the case with beginner woodworkers or woodworkers like myself who have little experience, I've forgotten something. I made a lockbox for my daughter about 2 weeks ago, and 2 or 3 weeks before that, for Christmas, I had made each one of my 2 daughters a jewelry box. And on all 3 of these boxes, I've been having a heck of a lot of trouble with the hinges. So I think on this lockbox, I'm going to router out. I'm going to use a round over bit and round off just this hinge so that it'll tilt up and down with a little more ease. I don't know if this will help or not, but I'm hoping it will. I'm thinking it will. I'm going to use my trim router, which I'm not terribly fond of. I prefer my full-size router, but in this case, it's just going to be one pass, and it'll be quick and over and done with. And I don't think I need, the big... I think I can pull it off with this smaller router. For 90% of my routing jobs, I use my full-size router. But I've got to learn to stop hating this little bitty trim router. It tends to get away from me. But hopefully, again, with this setup, I'll be fine. Thinking if I turn the table a little bit. Alright. This will either work or it won't. Once again, I think I probably should have used a full-size router. I'll never learn, Eddie. I'll never learn. I think I know what some of you are thinking. And it doesn't matter. Because A, I'm going to sand this. I might sand it right now. And B, these trims on the outside are going to be painted black. So it doesn't really matter. So I think I'm going to sand this right now. See if I can wrap this up. I'm going to go ahead and use some low grit sandpaper because this has got a really big edge and I want to take it off. I think I'm using 60 grit. And then I'll clean it up with 100 grit if I need to, or 120. We'll go up as high as I need. If I can get these headphones on, we'll be alright. Operator error, as always. Where's my trusty brush? I may have to go over this orange paint one more time. But again, along this trim is going to be black. I kind of like that. That might just work. We're going to find out. Okay, well I went ahead and painted that whole strip orange again. because when I paint the sides black, I don't want to have to repaint orange, so I figured I'd just get her done. And if I pan to the side, you'll see that those are going to be black. So I'm going to let it sit overnight. We'll hit it again tomorrow. I have a cedar TV stand, or TV, one of those, I don't know what you call it. I'm making a thing to sit in your lap in bed so I can use the laptop computer and watch TV, because I'm fairly lazy. And I'm gluing a piece of cedar together, and as soon as I get that glued, I'm going to have to plane that, and then I'm going to glue this and eventually have a 15-inch wide cedar tray, and then I'll put the legs on. That's got nothing to do with the lockbox. I'm just trying to illustrate that I like to use 2 or 3 different projects at once, because you can work on one while another's drying. Alright, well, I pretty much swept it up. I think I'm going to call it a day, and we'll get back to where I was 2 hours ago when I told you, let's put that box together. Thanks for hanging in there. Now, we finally get to start putting this thing together. Again, I'm not sure if there's a wrong or a right way. This is how I do it. In order to ensure that I get a 90-degree angle, I like to use these, what's they're called as corner braces. They give me a 90-degree angle. I put them on each side of the bottom board, like so. I also like to pre-drill, that way I'm not driving the screws all over the board. There's nothing too complicated about it. Now I have already pre-cut my foam pieces to glue to the board once I secure it. So really, all I need to do is match up which side of the board I want to show and which side of the board I do not. Okay. Push. It doesn't have to be in the center. It really doesn't matter. All that it matters is that it's at a 90-degree angle. That's all that matters. Just because I like to be super secure, I'm going to screw these in as well as glue them. I got this last one to mount. You don't want to put too much glue in there because you're going to screw it. I like it to be secure. And you can always touch up the paint later. What I like more than anything is for these boards to be flush. And for the screws to go in. So, we've got our boards mostly put together. And we have our box. We're going to sink our last 2 screws into the front. I like them to be pre-drilled. Then we'll secure some on the bottom. Let's do the bottom one first. have some glue leakage, just wipe it out. You can always repaint too, and I usually do after I'm finished. There we go. Now, I will screw in the bottom. Just that simple. So that the screws don't run into each other, I like to sink them just about an inch in, because you're just going to secure the bottom board to these. I don't know that it makes any difference, but I countersink them, kind of like when you're when you're changing a flat tire. That way they're evenly compressed. There's that. Now, this is also the point where I like to put on my bumpers. Because some of you might be thinking, well, if this box is turned over and set on a counter space or something might scratch it. Well, it might. That's why I use these. Hardest part about this is getting it open. Well, that and changing the bit. So, the reason you use these bumpers is it gets it up off the counter. And it won't scratch or scrape anything. They go in pretty simple. Next we'll put the black felt inside, like we did on the bottom, like we did on the sides of the boards. And we'll attach the lid. These go right in, you don't need to pre-drill them. Was ist das? As you can see, I've pre-glued inside the box. And we're going to have overlap, which is fine. because I'm going to glue it in here as well. The glue bottle's about empty. My daughter likes to do this as well. Woodworking. Once you glue this, you're going to leave it about an hour. It starts to set pretty quick. Inside of the box. I'm going to get every last drop. And that's that. Opens, closes. One last screw to sink, and we should be there. Let's make sure this one's secure too. And there you have one lockbox. For one little boy. Alright, well, we're done. Move this out of the way. We've got ourselves a lock. Open it up. Put his things in there. There you go. Boy, it's a hideous group of colors. Like Halloween run amok. But there it is. Thanks for being with me while I made it. Now I've got to make two more.